Hey guys, I brought you today to a precious metals refinery because I want to show you the process that metal goes through as it's being refined. Come take a look with me. Now, the process of refining fine metal starts when gold, silver, platinum, and palladium are delivered to the refinery in several impure forms, some still connected to false teeth and other creepy stuff like that. The lots of precious metals are weighed and tabulated, then the lots are combined with flux, which looks a lot like you're actually making matters worse by pouring a bunch of dirty sand in with the metal, but it's actually a very important ingredient. This flux and the impure metal is placed in a vessel called a crucible. This is made from material that can take the heat better than the material inside it. So the crucible is then put into a melting furnace that transforms the metal and flux into a molten material, usually within 30 to 45 minutes. The crucible is then removed and the molten material is poured into a mold, sometimes shaped like a brick or other times like an inverted cone. Especially when they use a lot of flux in the cone-shaped mold, the flux fuses with the undesired matter to form a slag that is lighter than the precious metals. The slag naturally floats to the top of the mold, leaving a pure button of metal below. You can then easily separate the metal button from the slag. Once the whole lot has been melted and sampled, it's then remelted and recooled into grains about the size of BBs in order to speed up the extraction process. The grains are then placed into a mantle where an acid solution is used to dissolve the metals into a liquid form. Once the metals are fully dissolved, chemists use other substances to induce reactions that extract the exact metal they are looking for. The results are that you end up with an absolutely pure piece of gold, silver, platinum, or palladium. Now, this process, although it may seem a little foreign to your typical day, is actually something that you need to understand inside and out. And here's why. The Bible, when it talks about God testing us, it doesn't use the definition for testing that we automatically think of. When we hear about tests, we think of exams and quizzes to see how much we've studied and how well we can answer those questions at a moment's notice. But man, have I got some great news for you today. When the Bible says that God tests us, it consistently uses the metallurgic term for refining precious metal. God does not test you to see how much you know or to find out where your breaking points are. He knows you inside and out. He knows the beginning, middle, and end. He already knows more about you than you do. So that's obviously why the Bible doesn't say that God is up there testing us like a difficult-to-please teacher at finals week. He's doing something completely different. He's trying to make you more precious. He's trying to make you more valuable, not in His eyes, but in the eyes of everyone else around you. He already values you so much that He paid the ultimate price to buy you back from the enemy. He's not testing to see how serious you are. He wants to purify you, to remove all of the things within you that are holding you back from the revolutionary that He created you to be. That's why you might be going through an experience right now that you feel like the heat has been really turned up in your life. Watching the refining process probably reminded you of this past year with all of these extreme conditions of heat, cold, and acid. Just know that you are safe as long as you are in God's crucible. He can use even these fiery trials to help you become more like Him. And to begin to see that with each stage of the process, that He is strengthening you and healing you and purifying you in a way that will help you lean confidently into the indestructible arms of your loving God. So let Him refine you a little bit more today. And don't get scared when He turns up the heat. He's just making you more precious.
What's up, YouTube? Welcome to another episode on my channel, The Confessions of a Hebrew Israelite. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, glory, and honor to the Most High God, to His Son Yahshua, and to the Holy Spirit, the teacher of all things. In today's video, I would like to discuss how we are made perfect through our suffering. There is a real purpose behind why God allows the trials and the tribulations and the pain and the suffering that we have to endure. There is a real reason for this. So just a brief story on what had recently happened to me, because it kind of inspired this video. So I had just recently come out of a situation where I was being pursued and attacked by a man. It was being done very covertly. You know, I get attacked a lot by men. Women don't bother me. Satan, he does not use women. Not with me. The enemy likes to utilize men to attack me. I endure a lot of attacks from men. But anywho, I had just come out of a situation with a young guy who was literally pursuing me just to attack me. You know, it just really triggered me to really think on why God allows certain situations to happen. Why does God allow our suffering? There's got to be a true purpose behind all this, because God is very, very intentional. And so it triggered me to a revelation. And I realized that, yes, there's always a lesson in them. Always. So I was able to abstract the lesson from this situation and understand why God allowed it, which is, you know, Satan has light workers too. And I'm going to make a whole nother video on this, on the actual lesson, what I was able to abstract out of this situation. I'm going to make a video on it. And it's going to be called Satan Has Light Workers Too. So there are real reasons why God allows trials and tribulations. So in today's video, we will be discussing what some of these reasons may be and how to respond and process these situations. These experiences probably wouldn't be so agonizing if we just knew and understood what they were about. If we could change our perspective on why He allows certain situations to happen in our lives. God is not responsible for the trials and tribulations. He allows them because the enemy needs permission, right? Check out the story of Job in the Bible. If you check out the story of Job in the Bible, you'll see that you'll see that Satan needs permission, okay? So yes, he allows these things to happen, but God isn't the one who is doing it. He's not responsible for doing it. The enemy is. In Revelations 12:10, it talks about how Satan goes before the throne of God day and night, accusing us. He's called the accuser, trying to justify a right to us and our lives, because, you know, Satan is a legalist and sin gives him legal right to us. So he's constantly going before God saying, hey, look, I have legal right to go and do this and to go and do that and destroy this and take this and steal that and kill this. So he is responsible. It is done by his hands. And you know, this is a game, you guys. It's a game. I mean, God is a just, honest, law-abiding God. I mean, He created this game. This is His movie. He's created rules, and He has to abide by the rules and the laws that He has created in His game, in His movie. So God is a law-abiding God. He respects spiritual laws, okay? So if you give Satan legal right and access to you in your life, he has to honor that. It's a game, you guys. I mean, there's rules, there's laws. He's going to honor it, and he's going to allow access. All right, it's a game. You play the game. See, a lot of the times we get angry at God. We take it out on God, when really it's us just not knowing how to play the game. Okay, it's our fault. It's our ignorance. Yes, He allows it, but He's not responsible for attacking you. The enemy is. But there's a real reason why He allows this. Okay, they have to attack us because we are a threat, but them attacking us makes us stronger. You see how God has reinforced? You see how He reinforces things? So even our suffering has been ordained and reinforced. All these attacks and persecution and trials and tribulation, the enemy persecutes you to oppress you. It is to oppose you. It is to keep you off the path that God has ordained for you in your life. And if they are successful at doing this with the children of God, they can delay, or they feel like they even have the hope at stopping their judgment judgment. He does not want to leave this planet. He doesn't want to leave this plane. God has ordained a time. See, he was only given a certain amount of time to rule on this planet. Satan was only allowed 6,000 years to be the God of this world. That's it, just 6,000 years. And those 6,000 years are up. This isn't the first time that they have attempted a new world order. This is what the story of Babel is about in the Bible. The story of Babel is talking about a new world order. Everybody coming together, speaking one language, trying to conquer and defeat and kill God. Okay, so this is not the first time that this has happened. So at the Tower of Babel, the first time that it happened, God said, okay, he told the enemy, if you want to challenge me, fine. There's 70 nations, and God said, I'll give you 69 nations, and I'll keep a nation to myself. And he permitted Satan to challenge him. He permitted and allowed and gave Satan a certain amount of time to rule on this planet. And see, God is in control. He is in control of all of this, all right? Why he allowed and permitted Satan to do what it is that he is doing, who knows? Okay, but he did, he took up the challenge. This is the reason why he beats up the enemy, beats up the children of God, is because they really feel like they have a chance at killing God. I personally don't believe it's possible to kill God, but these people really feel like there's hope. They feel like they have a chance at killing God. And so they persecute you and they do all this stuff to you to oppose you, to keep you off the path of God, because they feel like if they can do this, they can extend or even avoid judgment. Okay? They feel like they can avoid their judgment. They don't have to leave this planet or leave this plane or leave the kingdom that they have created in this world. Okay, so this is one of the reasons why the enemy persecutes you and why you are oppressed and opposed. And see, another thing I want to point out is when people sell out to Satan, they have the same common goal at that point. They have the same agenda at that point, and that is to stay on this planet, to stay in this plane and not face judgment, because they're going to face judgment for this too. They have decided to become one with the enemy, and so they are going to face the same judgment as the enemy. And so this is why you have people who are just relentless at attacking you and abusing you and opposing you and oppressing you, because they now share the same common goal as the enemy. The passion of the evil that some people have, this is the drive behind it. This is the evil that you see in them. This is why they're hopeless, and that hopelessness, it drives them to do some of the most absurd stuff. They know that they have gone to a point of no return. This is what the term fallen is. You can fall. God can do whatever he wants. He can save whoever he wants, but this is where the term fallen comes from. You can fall to the point of no return, and that hopelessness is a drive for some of the most evil acts you did ever want to see. You see, God has thought of everything. God has thought of everything. He knew that we would suffer. He knew that we were going to be persecuted and hated and abused. Okay, he knew this, but he turned this and ordained it to work out for our good. This works in our favor. God's movie. God has reinforced his plan. He has reinforced his movie. He has pinned the good and the evil against each other. Like, both of our survivals depend of coming against one another. So they have to attack you for their survival. But it also puts us in survival mode. But he has ordained their attacking. Okay, when they attack us, he has ordained it to work out in our favor. Okay, you see how God has pinned the contrast up against one another? You see how he reinforces his plan? I hope I'm explaining that right. They have to attack you because their survival depends on it. This war. But their attacks actually make you stronger. God has ordained the suffering and the attacks and the persecution and the trials and the tribulations to work out in your favor. It literally makes you stronger. It literally mutates you. He has ordained the suffering to mutate you into a super bug.
Shut up.
Mr. Wilson, my name's Ajax. I manage this workshop. Oh, my welcome speech used to be full of euphemisms like, this may hurt a little. This may cause you some discomfort. But I've grown blunt. This workshop is not a government-led program. It's a private institution that turns reclamation projects like yourself into men of extraordinary abilities. But if you think superhuman powers are acquired painlessly, wrong. I'm injecting you with a serum that activates any mutant genes lurking in your DNA. For it to work, we need to subject you to extreme stress. You've heard the whole make an omelette break some eggs bit, right? But I'm about to hurt you, Wade. I was a patient here once myself, you know. The treatment affects everyone differently. It made Angel inhumanly strong. In my case, it enhanced my reflexes. Also scorched my nerve endings so I no longer feel pain. And in fact, I no longer feel anything.
Thank you. You have something in your teeth. Right in the middle there, just, a little nugget of romaine lettuce or something. It's been bothering me for a long time. Made you look. Hey, is Ajax your actual name? Because it sounds suspiciously made up. What is it really? Kevin? Bruce? Scott? Mitch? The Rickster? Is it Basil Fawlty?
I joke away. One thing that never survives this place is a sense of humor.
We'll see about that.
I suppose we will. He's all yours.
Oh, come on. You gonna leave me all alone here with less angry Rosie O'Donnell?
This is how it's going to work. Adrenaline acts as a catalyst for the serum, so we're going to have to make you suffer. If you're lucky, your mutant genes will activate and manifest in a spectacular fashion. If not, well, we'll have to keep on hurting you. In new and different ways, each more painful than the last. Until you finally mutate. Or die.
Okay? That's how He's thought of everything. This is how awesome God is. He literally has thought of everything. So yes, this is the reinforcement that God has placed in his movie. So yes, they attack you. They have to, right? Because they feel like, well, we're going to die if we don't. We got to fight, right? But then the attacks that we have to endure just makes they turn us into super bugs. If we can abstract, if we can respond and not react, if we can utilize these situations for the better. See, we don't always utilize these situations for the better because we don't know how. We don't understand why we're going through it. And there's a real reason behind it. And I'm going to get into that, but there's a real reason behind it. But if we can figure that out and understand that. And so if you know that when you are going through a struggle and when you are being attacked and abused and scuffed, that there's a lesson in it and you know how to properly utilize these experiences to abstract the lesson in them. You get the gold out of it. If you are aware of this, if you know how to do this, it'll just make you stronger. It'll just make you stronger. You'll just keep mutating and mutating into a super bug.
Antibiotics are one of the miracles of modern medicine. They have saved countless lives, but there's another side to them. The bacteria that live in our body, they've learned how to outwit many of our most powerful antibiotics. These drug-resistant bacteria are called superbugs. Here's how a bug becomes a superbug. When you take an antibiotic, there could be some bacteria that know how to resist that antibiotic. Well, those smart bacteria, they're the ones that survive your round of antibiotics and they flourish. And that's when you get a proliferation of superbugs. And the more that we as a community take antibiotics, the more chances the bacteria have to become resistant to them.
This is how we mutate. This is how your DNA is activated. He's awakening us, okay? We are being activated right now. This is how we become superbugs, okay? We build a resistance. It can't do anything else. If it does anything else to us, it's because we are allowing it to crush us. It is ordained to make us stronger. God has ordained our suffering to make us stronger. So if it's not making you stronger, if you're not abstracting lessons from the trials and tribulations that you are going through, then that's because you are reacting and you are not responding. Okay, you're just not processing it correctly. So the Apostle Paul in 2 Corinthians chapter 12 verses 8 through 10, he is talking about how he pleaded with the Lord 3 times that he might take away his torment, that it might depart from him. And he said that the Lord said to him, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness." Therefore, Paul is saying, most gladly I would rather boast in my infirmities, that the power of Christ may rest upon me. Therefore I take pleasure in infirmities, in reproaches, in needs, in persecutions, in distresses, for Christ's sake. For when I am weak, then I am made strong. So he's saying he had to learn through his trials and tribulations that he had to endure, that, that it was God ordained. It was God ordained, that God was in control of it, and he was going through those things for a reason, and he said that he accepted it, and he learned to change his perception on it and start embracing and rejoicing in his needs, in his infirmities, in his persecutions, because he realized that during these trials, when we are made weak, the God in us, our DNA is activated, the God in us, Christ, arises. The power of God within us arises, okay? So when he's at his weakest point, it gives God the ability to really channel through him, and the power of God is alive. He is strong through the power of God. So this is us denying our flesh, denying our wills, and submitting to the will of God, and allowing God to have full control. This is us being completely dependent on God and his power and his will. This is the process that I am going through right now. This is what I am learning right now. God has and is completely humbling me. These last 2 years, I have been going through so many trials and tribulations, just learning how to trust God, learning how I am made strong through my weakness only if I am completely dependent on God. And this is only effective if I am completely dependent on God and aligned in his will, trusting in him. I'm learning all about this process. It's not an easy process to completely trust when you are being tormented, when you are going through trials and tribulations, and understanding that, there's a deeper meaning and purpose behind it. You don't really care about that when you're going through it. You just want God to make it go away. And when he doesn't, that requires a lot of trust. It requires a lot of strength. I'm learning how when I am going through those processes, when I am feeling weak, I'm learning how to, at that point, reach out for God, how to be completely dependent on God so that he can reveal himself and channel through me, and me being made strong through his power, not on my own strength, but on his power and his strength. So it is a very tough process because it's not something that you learn overnight. I mean, this took me a while to grasp, and it's taken me a while to really comprehend and to apply to my life. But it's very, very critical that we understand what Paul is stating here in these verses. It's very, very, very important, because when you are truly pursuing a true covenant with the Most High God, and you are for kingdom, you're not just that lukewarm God follower, you are really for kingdom, you are going to face a lot of turbulence. It's really, really important that you grasp this concept and understand this, because this is what is going to get you through the trials and the tribulations. Understanding this and knowing how to apply this, we will probably be embracing these attacks, okay, because they are mutating us. They're making us into super bugs. God has ordained it that way. All right, so this is how he has reinforced his movie. All right, it's amazing. Like, God is just, I mean, he literally thinks of everything. Like, he'll put you in certain circumstances and situations. He'll allow you to go through trials and tribulations, because there's always a lesson in it. We abstract the lesson from these experiences, we apply them, and then move on. And then, don't dwell on it, but wait for the next lesson, because it's just coming. Okay. See, I'm learning to just, you can't control other people. You can't control what they decide to do with their time and energy. I'm learning that there's nothing that you can do to prevent having trials and tribulations, especially being an empowered individual, especially pursuing a true covenant with the Most High God. There's absolutely nothing you can do to avoid trials and tribulations, people who are going to attack you for no good reason at all. Okay, you're not going to be able to avoid this. What you can do is change your perspective on it. Understand that it is God ordained. The suffering that we have to endure while we are here is God ordained. He knew that we were going to suffer. Okay, he knew this. And what he did was reinforced it, okay? He reinforced it by allowing the pain and the trials and the tribulations that we go through to make us stronger. That's the only thing that it does. It turns us into superbugs. We mutate under this abuse. We mutate under the scuffing. All right. So I have learned to change my perspective on this and to know that, okay, this is another trial and tribulation. Where is the lesson? I immediately begin to search for the lesson in it, because there is a lesson involved. Change your perspective on it. When you are having a hard time, you are in a situation where people are messing with you, or you are being abused. Change your perspective on it. Don't get riled up. Easier said than done, but try not to get riled up. If you do, correct yourself right away. Come back into character, okay? And then search for the lesson, because there's always a lesson in it. There's always some wisdom and understanding and knowledge in it. Search for that. Find it, apply it, and then move on and wait for the next lesson, because that's exactly what it is. They're just lessons, all right? Yeah, you may make some mistakes that put you in these situations, but think of it as if, we don't make mistakes. They're just lessons, okay? Not mistakes, just another lesson that you learned. Something that we have to do. This is something that we have to do. This is life, okay? We are here to experience and learn. Another reason for the trials and tribulations is we are being tested. There's examples of God testing his children, his prophets, all throughout the scriptures. God wants to make sure that he can trust us. He wants to make sure that our heart is completely there with him. God is more practical than we would like to think of him as. He's very, very practical. He thinks just like me or you. I mean, if you were trying to recruit someone on your team to be your main man, to be your soldier, to protect you, to be your representative, you're going to want to make sure that you can trust them. You're going to want to make sure that they're not going to waver under pressure and spill all your secrets, or, become a traitor, and you're going to want to make sure that they are trustworthy. As above, so below. He functions the same way. Where where do you think we get this mentality? Where do you think we get these ideas from? Okay, as above, so below. God is very, very, very practical. He's just like you and I, okay? He wants to make sure that you can handle this level of pressure, because if he wants to promote you, I mean, why would he promote you when you can't even handle what you're going through? Or why would he deal with you if he can't trust you, if you're ready to buckle under any type of pressure, under any type of problem that comes your way? So you have to be very strong and you have to be very trustworthy. And he allows us to go through certain things to make sure that this is true. Jesus was tested before he started his ministry. He went through a series of trials and tribulations throughout his whole existence on the planet. But before he started his actual ministry, before he was promoted to start his ministry, he went through a major test. He was baptized and then he was led into the wilderness for 40 days and 40 nights on a fast, being tested and tempted by Satan. And then you see, if you study the scriptures, you'll see after that is when he started his ministry. Okay, so even Jesus had to go through tests and trials, and even he had to go through this same process. And in John 15:20, it states that a servant is no greater than its master. So if our Lord and Savior had to go through this process, what makes you think that we're not going to have to go through the same process? So in Genesis chapter 22, God tests Abraham, because he promised Abraham that his descendants would be unnumbered like the stars in the sky. This was a promise that God made to Abraham, that he would be his chosen seed to carry on his heritage, to carry on God's legacy through his seed. And before it was official, he had to pass God's final test. God tempted Abraham and tested him and told him to offer up his son as a sacrifice. Now, God wasn't really going to watch him sacrifice his son. I mean, this isn't scriptural. You don't see God asking for human sacrifices. Other demonic, lower dimensional beings ask for human sacrifice. God doesn't ask for human sacrifice. So it was just a test. He wanted to test for many reasons. I mean, why do we test people? Just to see their loyalty, to see where their heart is, to see if they're serious, to see if they're really down, if they're really with you, okay? After he passed the test, it was official, okay? He was able then to come into that promise. Another reason why we need to embrace these situations, these trials and tribulations that come our way, more than likely it is a test. And if it's a test, that means that there is some type of promotion on the other side of it. Sometimes, not always, but sometimes, that means there's a promotion coming. And God is just wanting to make sure you are ready for that. I mean, just think, if we didn't have the strength and the bravery of the apostles and of our Lord and Savior, we wouldn't have the Gospels, which means we wouldn't have the truth, which means we wouldn't have the opportunity at salvation. This is what their endurance and their strength has provided us. I mean, look at what the apostles had to endure. They endured a lot of persecution. They endured a lot of trials and tribulations trying to get this gospel out, trying to plant seeds, trying to save souls, okay, trying to do the will of God, what they were commissioned to do. Where would we be if it weren't for them? I mean, look at what they had to endure. I mean, their end was not nice. Paul was beheaded. Peter was crucified, and he was crucified upside down at his request, and I'm going to make a video on that. Andrew was also crucified. It says that Thomas was pierced with many barrels by many soldiers. Philip was also put to death. There's many rumors on how Matthew died, but the rumor is that he was stabbed to death in Ethiopia. James was stoned to death. Simon refused to worship the sun god and was put to death. John was poisoned, and he survived being poisoned, and then they exiled him into an island, and there he wrote the Revelations. So, I mean, they didn't have it easy neither. They had to go through a lot. They're unto their death. Okay, even their deaths were brutal. So, even their faith was tested at times. I'm sure that they thought that, God wasn't with them. What's going on, Lord? Yeah. You know, even them. But look what the value in their suffering and what they had to endure. Look at the value in it. We wouldn't have the truth. We wouldn't have the opportunity at salvation. Like, that's huge. They had to sacrifice for all of us. We're all like mini Jesuses. You know, we all pick up our cross and we all have to make sacrifices for this truth, for God. There's great value in it. You know, and great is your reward. You know, Matthew 7:11 says that, you know, if ye then being evil knows how to give good gifts unto your children, how much more shall your Father which is in heaven good give gifts to those who ask? You know, God is saying, hey, I'm the author of this. All right. If Satan can give gifts, you know, he's saying, how much more shall your Father which is in heaven give good gifts? And Romans 2:6 says that God will repay each person according to what they have done for his kingdom, according to their works. Okay. They went through a trial. They went through a tribulation. They were tested. Their faith was tested. This is the phase that we are going through. We are being awakened and we are coming into the knowledge of ourselves. We are ordained to be God's witnesses, but there's still a process that we have to go through. We still have to prove ourselves. Okay. We still have to build that endurance, that strength, that wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And unfortunately, experience is one of the best teachers, and we're not going to get there without going through it. Change equals growth. You can't gain true knowledge, wisdom, and understanding by being happy and living the good life. Like, there's no room for growth there. When you are put into hardship situations, it provokes growth. It encourages growth. Okay, you're not going to experience the type of growth that God probably wants you to acquire if everything is handed to you on a silver platter. Okay, He's preparing you right now for warfare. You are a warrior angel. Okay, how are you going to prepare for war being chosen by God, laying up by a pool, sipping on margaritas all day? All right, living the good life, everything handed to you on a gold and silver platter. Our time will come where we will be able to live the good life. You know, like Jesus said, there's many mansions in heaven. And when he returns, he's coming with his reward with him. So our time will come, okay? It's not going to always be this way for us. Our time will come when Jesus returns to take back dominion over this planet, to reestablish his kingdom on this earth. That will be our time, and he will have his reward with him. But right now, we are in transition mode. We're in that transition period where the powers are teetering. It's transitioning over. We're in a process where we have to kick Satan's butt. We have to kick him out. So this kingdom that we are in right now was not created for us. And this is why we are not able to enjoy it. This is why we're persecuted and oppressed. It wasn't created for us, all right? This isn't our kingdom. It just isn't our time. But it will come, and we'll be able to live the good life in our kingdom, that you know, God's kingdom that will be reestablished on this planet very soon. And see, this is why rich people can be very, they just don't understand. They don't understand what it's like. They don't have that experience. You know, this is why a lot of them are just like very arrogant and mean-spirited, because they never had to go through trials and tribulations. They're not level. They're not well-rounded. This makes you more level-headed. It makes you more well-rounded. It makes you more grounded. It makes you appreciate things that they would probably never even comprehend to appreciate. Okay, but this explains why a lot of rich people are the way that they are. It's because they don't have to deal with these type of lessons. So that's another way of looking at it, is that it enriches you with such an appreciation. It grounds you so well. And this is something that they would never understand. They will never be able to grasp this on this type of level. Okay, so we need these experiences. We need these lessons to teach us. They are preparing us. Okay, they are making us stronger. They're giving us the knowledge and the wisdom and understanding that is needed to be in God's army. I mean, think about that. You have been chosen to be in God's army, to be his chosen, to be the end time saints. Okay, it's such a great honor. It's such a great honor. And if you think that you're not going to have to deal with anything and it's just going to be a breeze and it's just going to be easy, it's actually going to be a lot harder for you, because the enemy is going to fight you a lot harder, okay? Because he wants to oppose this. He's going to give you a hard time, okay? And it's ordained. Him giving you a hard time is ordained. It's supposed to make you stronger. It's supposed to help you. But this only helps us if we understand how to utilize this for our embetterment. You know, there's a lot of people who get stuck in lessons and they keep repeating the same lessons over and over and over again, and you just see yourself getting stuck in certain cycles. You get stuck in certain cycles because you're not obtaining the lesson from it. You can't move on because you haven't received the lesson from that experience. You can't promote yourself. You can't grow. You can't, you have to abstract what it is you're supposed to get from that particular lesson and move on. And there's people who literally get stuck. They get stuck in certain lessons, in certain life experiences, and they keep repeating the same lessons and the same experiences over and over. They keep dating the same guy or keep dating the same women over and over and over again. It's because you still haven't comprehended what this lesson is trying to teach you. Okay, so this is very, very, very important that we grasp this concept, because God says there are many that are called, but there are few that are chosen. And I think it's because it's not easy. This pressure and this process that we have to go through right now, it's not easy, and a lot of people aren't going to be able to handle it. A lot of people are going to get stuck in lessons, but a lot of people don't learn that, or a lot of people don't understand that the things that we go through, we are supposed to learn from them and move on, not get stuck. Okay? He wants us to build a dependence upon Him. He wants us to call on Him in the time of trouble, because it glorifies Him. Okay, when we do this, it glorifies God. Especially now, because we are coming into the knowledge of ourselves. We need to learn how to depend on God to get through a lot of these circumstances. A lot of the times He allows us to go through these certain situations to bring us closer to Him, to create a dependence upon Him. Okay, because it's not anything that we can, a lot of the times it's not anything that we do or we can do. Majority of the time it's God. It's divine intervention, regardless if it's major or minor. This experience really, really forces you to completely become dependent on God. I mean, completely dependent on God. So everything works in our favor. We have to remember that God is very, 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 very intentional. He is very intentional. And this is His plan. This is His movie. This is His thing. He's in control of everything, even the evil, the trials, the tribulations. He is in control. So there is so much meaning behind why we endure what we endure, why God allows certain things to be placed in our lives or to happen in our lives. Okay, there is good reason behind it. We just have to understand it. We also have to remember that God is not going to put us through anything that we cannot handle. Okay, He's not going to allow us to deal or endure anything that He does not think that we cannot handle. So if you just feel like, it's just too much and you just can't handle it and you're just not strong enough to get through it, you are strong enough to get through it. He would not be putting you in that position if He didn't think you were. You can get through it. Remember, we are warrior angels. He is preparing us for warfare right now. So be strong, fast and pray, and seek the face of God. If you have not given your life to the Most High God, to Jesus Christ, just talk to Him and ask Him to reveal Himself to you, to come into your life. I talk to God just like how I'm talking to you right now. Just conversate with Him. He'll hear you. We are in the last hour. Jesus is soon to return, okay? And we need to start thinking about our salvation, our eternal state, our eternal home. So now is the time. Now is the time to develop that personal relationship with the Most High God, because we're running out of time. When it gets truly turbulent out here, it's going to be so bad. It's going to be very difficult to try to work out your salvation, to try to create that relationship with the Most High God, because we're going to need Him. We're going to need Him to get through it. We're going to need His guidance. We're going to need His protection. Okay, so now is the time. Now is the time to seek the face of God, to get right with God, to work out your salvation. And even more encouragement, Proverbs 15:29 states, "The Lord is far from the wicked, but He heareth the prayers of the righteous." So I hope that this video was helpful. If it was, please hit like and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Take care and God bless.